Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Massive result in the VCT world yesterday, but some big drama emerging as well, certainly in the European side. Ardiis gives his perspective on Ping, seemingly spotted on LAN. Durka doubles down as well, and roster drama happening with Louds. Big rumours over the last few days what they're going to do. We now have potentially a clearer indication of the roster changes that are upcoming. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. We're actually going to start with some roster stuff too, just confirming from DRX that indeed Flashback is going to be moved to the bench. Now, we talked about this yesterday, and as I uploaded the video, I recognised that they'd actually already done a tweet talking about it. So it has now been made official that Flashback will be stepping down from the starting roster and transition. I always like this. It's been mutually agreed. It's like, has it been mutually agreed? I don't know. Organisations say this type of stuff a lot, but oh no, the player, he was happy to go. But at the end of the day, did Flashback really come in and say, yeah, please drop me? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he just feels like he'd be better served down there right now. But my feeling is that when people say, certainly when organisations say mutually agreed, that tends to mean, okay, we're going to bench you. And do you agree to either get benched or do you want to go? Do you want to be fired? And he's like, okay, I'll be benched. That's often how these mutually agreements things get read for me, but you guys may disagree. Some results yesterday in the challenger side. Academy with a nice win against QOR. A little bit notable, of course, because Redux has just turned 18, so there's lots of talk about whether Sentinel should be keeping an eye out. But this was a pretty big series, to be fair, and Qubit came out and delivered the goods 13-11, and then they crushed them on the Haven 13-4. This one was not close at all. So Qubit move on. They're looking pretty nice in the Swiss stage right now. We'll just have a look at how that is going. But we do have, as you guys can already tell, our first team to officially make it through to the playoffs again. And that is Envy, the former Rankers team. They're finally, not finally, but they're coming good again, right? Because when they were Rankers, they were frying, they became Envy, they lost immediately, right? But now they're back to form, and it's got to be said, Kane is absolutely out of control. And I couldn't believe like the level of dominance that he had over them this series. I mean, the split was 15-13. Kane drops 33 and 20 for the loss. Big map here from Vora. Lotus, it was a big bounce back, but he still dropped 21 kills. And then the Ascent Decider, again, another absolute takeover on the Jet. 27 and 18 for the dub. Massive defensive side on the second half. Even though they, lost the piss on the second half, they won it on the first. They kind of got away with it. But yeah, that's great, big result from Envy. Like, I think this is always going to be a real close series. TSM have been excellent as of late. They've been looking like a serious threat, but in the end, Envy have a little bit too much, and they get over the line and advance to 4-0 and guarantee their spot going forward. TSM at 3-1, they won't be too disheartened by it. It was a very close fought affair. And M80, they moved to 3-1 as well, with finally getting a good victory on the board here with Victor. Of course, it's a big question really down there whether bringing on Victor was a good idea. Bringing on Chet was a good idea. Drew Spark has decided to voluntarily, it seems, step away from the franchise. So, now we're talking about a big result against YFP. Again, yesterday, there were some crazy overtimes, and this was one such example. 17-15 sounds like a big overtime, but it's nothing compared to what we were about to see. But YFP will end up losing this one, then they lose the split 13-10. So it was real close, but in the end, M80 have enough, and they get over the line. As Chet says, bouncing back 3-0 since our first loss, debuting our role changes. That's looking pretty good for them. Let's talk about EMEA though, because man, there's some storylines to talk about here. This was making people lose full, this Apex team, when you've got Floor not on the Vandal, and then you've got one of the other players on the Vandal. It's like we're used to happen in the day with Counter-Strike when Zeus would be taking the AK and Simple would be stuck on a Deagle. It's like, hang on a second, surely that doesn't make all that much sense. Feel bad for Floor because obviously moving out there to Berlin, dealing with the difficulties that are involved in that, and probably feels quite isolated. The team are terrible. It is a real nightmare, right? And they played Apex last night, and Floor goes 44 in 33, but it was just nowhere near enough. Governor had, unfortunately for him, another bit of a stinker, really. 13-7, 13-9. Apex tried, but eventually it was just nowhere near good enough in the end. So Giants get the win. Again, both of these matches didn't really matter in the sense that they're still not making it, right? But Apex officially in that club of losers. The other side, however, was insane. And this is where a lot of the drama came from, really. So this was BBL versus Foot Esports, and this is now officially the longest VCT match that we have ever seen. This was as long as you can tell as two regular VCT games that don't go to overtime, because they played the Ascent. Kind of crazy that BBL won 7-5 on the attack, the second side, and then FUT Esports did it back to them. It then goes to overtime. They alternate loads of attacking rounds. Finally, FUT Esports win a defense. Then they alternate defensive rounds. Then BBL win an attack again. And, you know, you couldn't make this stuff up. Eventually, BBL get over the line with, you know, mega performance at the end of this series. But, like, what a ridiculous game. There were tech pauses, too. Like, it was one of the most grueling, longest maps of Valorant that you're ever going to see. And, yeah, well over 2 hours for a single map of Valorant. Just absolutely insane. And in the end, of course, it comes down to a 1 versus 1, and Lude gets the defuse. Like, you couldn't write this type of stuff. It looked like it was going to go again to another overtime, but eventually they get over the line. So absolutely bonkers, and as Bosa says, guess nobody wants to win this map. The drama, though, we'll see in a second. BBL eventually get the win 2-0 after that ridiculous Ascent. I mean, you can see here just the amount of kills and impact that so many of these guys had. Yampy and Zeus had pretty rough series, given the fact that they had plenty of rounds to get some kills. But yeah, I mean, you know, there was some top performance here, even dropping 40 during a course of a particular map. The Icebox, though, honestly, fair play to FUT Esports, because losing a map in that fashion, it's got to be tough to regain mentally and even be somewhat competitive. But that they were. Look, they brought a bigger of a comeback on the second side. Eventually, they lose 13-11. So it was tough. It was close. But it's okay, I think, for FUT Esports at the end of the day. And as we saw a second ago with the groups, they're still sitting at 3-2. The big games upcoming, of course, Vitality, Na'Vi. And then everyone's really looking forward to that Fnatic Heretics game in a couple of days' time. And these are the other games on the other side. The drama, though, was on this one. So during this series, we could see on the right-hand side that there was ping involved. And this caused lots of drama, right? Because they're playing on LAN in the same facility right opposite each other. You would expect the ping to be effectively non-existent. Now, unfortunately, with PCs, back in the day with consoles like Xboxes, PlayStations, you could literally plug them into each other and you needed no internet at all, and they would be hardwired in, and then that would be proper LAN. Nowadays, LAN isn't really LAN. They play on a server, but they play on a, well, what typically is a very, very local server. So they might play on a server that has 3 ping or something for the computers to it, because it's based right there where everything happens. In Americas, this is the type of thing that you will tend to see. But the games happening here, apparently they weren't even playing on the German servers in Frankfurt. They were playing on the French servers in Paris. So they were dealing with like 30 ping. And as Ardiis says, like, look, this is meant to be LAN. And look, if it's the same for both teams, that maybe it doesn't matter. But like, we're meant to be playing on a LAN environment here where everything is 0. There's no delay. There's no latency at all. And it's the best possible competitive environment. And they're playing in an arena with the other teams, right? And instead they're playing on a server, which is frankly no better than playing online. And look, 30 ping isn't much. You blink your eyes and 3 little ping windows of 30 ping have already gone by, but it's still a relevant factor. And as Ardiis says, billion-dollar company, what are we doing here? As Durka says, I've better ping for my apartments than players on the stage right now. So, you know, people are obviously talking about Riot. What are they playing out here? So, you know, definitely I think some degree of pressure on Riot to maybe try and resolve this one or find a better solution, because it's a pretty ugly look when you've got a stream that's meant to be on LAN in a totally fair, low ping latency environment. And this is the type of stuff that people end up talking about. So intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Couple of other things to mention. This was pretty interesting. There was a recent video that Heretics did where, well, Rians was talking about Aspas and says he's the most overrated player because he's just a beta. He's not that good at the game, he says. Now, you know, it's a pretty interesting statement for sure, but dramatic. And look, is Aspas worse than he looks? I mean, it's an argument. I rate Aspas incredibly highly, but, you know, his play style is, you know, he's setting himself up, and the team is setting him up to get kills. So his numbers may be not exactly exaggerated, but he's probably not that much better than his competition that his numbers look, but he is still very, very good in my opinion. But yeah, Rian says he's actually not that good. He's just a beta, which, yeah, hopefully we get an MIBR versus Heretics match at Masters Toronto. That would be pretty spicy. And then Front tweeted out, Lions do not concern themselves with the opinion of sheep. So we'll see if that goes anywhere. But speaking of that region, really, let's talk about Loud. Luxo's come in, he's done a great job. Pancada is likely to not go anywhere, neither is Cowanzan, but apparently this is what they might do. So STK, their coach, is going to be gone. Vinny is going to be gone. Toys is going to be gone. That's the big present rumour. DGZan, who knows? I guess this red arrow kind of means undecided, or they're not so sure right now, or it's a possibility one way or the other. But yeah, what would you guys do if you were Loud? Because Luxo, you can't get rid of him. You don't want to like completely dismantle the team, I think, because there are still some talented players there. Can you do better than Pancada? You know, probably not. DG Zan's pretty good as well, I would say. But if they keep 4 of their guys and they only change 1, probably not a great idea either. So we'll see what the future holds for Loud. Very much into your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
キャリアダウン撃てない終わりだスパイクを確保最後の1人だ敵残り1名スパイクを設置索敵するいたぞまだ使えないお遊びはここまでだクラッチ狩人を狩るなんて無理さ